at the direction of the President of the United States, fighter aircraft assigned to U.S. Northern Command successfully took down a high-altitude airborne object off the northern coast of Alaska.
Here we go. Welcome to the channel. Another day, another object testing the American airspace. So a few days ago, the Chinese spy balloon was shot down off the coast of South Carolina after traversing all the way from Alaska to South Carolina. Now we have what appears to be some sort of drone, but stay to the very end of the video because I'll give you my strategic perspective from a fighter pilot on what I think is going on and why our airspace is being tested so much right now. So before we do that though, please dominate that like button. Every time you do that, a pilot somewhere gets their wings. On February 9th, North American Aerospace Defense Command detected an object approaching the coast of Alaska. This object was flying at 40,000 feet, and that's about the area where airliners fly. Airliners fly routinely from 30 to 40,000 feet, so the fact that it was just kind of touching that top altitude definitely set up some alerts, and that's most likely part of the reason why this thing was chosen to be shot down so soon, but also because having something fly all the way across your airspace and having that happen again is just not good, especially if this thing is faster, has the ability to maybe evade a little better than the balloon can, and it potentially might have had the ability to disappear from radar more, whereas that big balloon, I mean, all of us could just see that the entire time, right? So maybe didn't pose as much of a threat. But this thing is clearly something that was self-propelled, but it was shot down by what I think were F-22's with an AIM-9X, and now there's a recovery effort underway. And this thing was the size of a small car. So let's think back to the Chinese spy balloon. That thing could potentially carry up to 8,000 pounds of payload. They're saying that the array underneath that balloon wasn't quite that heavy, but a balloon that size can carry a lot of payload. So this is smaller, potentially could be the size of the array that was underneath the balloon. We don't really know exactly, but the size of a small car is what the Pentagon is saying. So what that tells me is it's actually a decent sized drone. And that drone could be anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 pounds or so. And we're gonna get into the different sizes of drones now. And I'm gonna give you some insider information on drones and different categories that they're in and what we might have been up against off the coast of Alaska. So there's currently no country of origin listed on the drone, and obviously that's gonna be by design. Who's ever flying this thing most likely doesn't wanna be detected. I don't think it's a civilian company that's doing it. I mean, anything's possible, right? I could be completely wrong. But most likely, if they were testing some sort of new drone technology, they wouldn't be up around Alaska in the wintertime. They would want to be somewhere where the weather was great and they could basically observe this thing a lot better and keep it from flying into clouds or get into icing or something like that. So most likely, a civilian company would be testing this in warmer areas. So now let's talk about UAV versus UAS. Unmanned aerial vehicle is the actual hardware. That's the thing that's going up into the sky and flying around without a human. The UAS, if you think about it as a system, the unmanned aerial system, that is what includes the human, it includes computers, and it includes the different connections and communication devices that it takes to get that UAV airborne. Now let's talk about ways that UAVs are categorized. I'm going to focus on a few of them, but I'll tell you all of them. So size, range, and capability are the three main ways that UAVs are compared to each other. We'll start with very small, micro or nano is what some of these are called. And these are actually modeled after insects. These things are insane. So obviously that's not what was off the coast of Alaska, but it's worth noting how incredible these things are. I mean, they can fly up to 300 feet. They can go potentially up to 100 miles per hour, and they look like the size of an insect. So pretty wild. But size would limit their altitude. So with something that's small, you're not gonna be able to control it once it gets up to a certain height just because the wind forces are gonna be so strong. The next size is small. So think of something that's around 1 to maybe up to 3 feet. That would be on the higher end. And it has some of the similar capabilities of the nano drones as far as the altitudes it can fly and the airspeeds it can fly. Now getting to the good stuff, the medium UAVs is where things start to get real. These can be longer than 6 feet. They can fly up to 18,000 feet, and they can go up to 280 miles per hour. And this is the category when you can really start carrying more of a payload. And then large UAVs, I guess there's no real limit on the size that these things can be, but if this one off the coast of Alaska happened to be the size of a small car, I would say it fits in the large UAV category. And then these things can fly above 18,000 feet, which obviously this one was doing since it was detected and shot down at 40,000 feet. And it can fly over 280 miles per hour. So we don't know exactly the speed that this thing was flying at, but my guess is that it was flying faster than 280. So UAVs can also be categorized by range, and this is an important one for this Alaska scenario. Close range UAVs, some of the smaller ones, can fly about 31 miles from their base. When you get to the slightly smaller size, so from small up to the medium range ones, you're looking at somewhere around 77 to 100 miles, and those things can actually loiter for about 12 hours. But then when we get up to the large ones, you're looking at over 450 miles that these things can fly from their base, and they can stay airborne for even a couple days at a time. So why is that important in this Alaska drone or potential drone scenario? Well, let's look at the different distances. So from China to Alaska, you're looking at 4,500 miles. So that's pretty far for most of the drones that we know about to fly. When you look at the distance from Russia to Alaska, you're looking at a whopping 55 miles. So there's definitely a chance that, hey, this could be a Russian drone. It could really be anything at this point. It's definitely all speculation. But when you look at the range of Alaska to Russia, at the first glance is, hey, Russia, prove to us that it's not you. So now you stayed to the end of the video, so my strategic thoughts as a fighter pilot. Why is the North American airspace being tested so much recently? Obviously, it's worth saying that these balloons from the past few days have flown over the US before, right? But now we're seeing this drone come just a few days after this balloon came. So I think there's probably the perception out there that maybe we're not monitoring our airspace as good as we potentially could have. And now that's obviously changed, or it's shown to have changed with us shooting down this drone. And it's just making a statement, right? If you bring anything up into our airspace, you try to sneak anything in from up there, we're going to shoot it down. And I think that's a good idea. Because when someone shows potential weakness or perceived weakness, then someone's going to come out and poke the bear, or poke the eagle in this case. So ultimately, we don't know who it was. Could be China, could be Russia, could be someone else. Again, could be a private company. There'll be a full investigation done, and I'll look forward to doing a video on that once that investigation is complete. Also, if you would like, I may jump on to DCS and do some scenarios where I shoot down drones with an AIM-9. Let me know if you'd like to see that in the comments below. Most of all, I'm so glad you were here. The best compliment you can give me is just watch another one of these videos. Thanks so much. Have a great day.